say just to be patient and give yourself grace during this time. So as you navigate through very uncertain territories with your health, right? This is going to happen to each of us. And part of that is very important part of that is to stay positive. Your mindset is absolutely crucial during this time. You have to understand it, believe, and really embody that there's nothing to be ashamed of, right? No matter what you're going through, we as women all go through this phase. It's natural. It can be beautiful. It's wonderfully transformative, right? If you lean into it with a positive mindset. I love this quote. It goes, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And I feel like that's very true, right? You have the choice and the power to stay positive and channel your energy during this time. So when your mental and emotional health is strong, your physical health will follow. So that's the first one. Stay positive, your mindset, and be patient.
And don't buy into all of the noise that's out there that is pulling it down, right? It's like really see the possibilities that's there.
Yeah.
Hello, my extraordinary women friends. Today we are continuing our Ignite speaker series, and I am excited to introduce you to another incredible speaker and my dear client, Antonée Thomson. Antonée is not only a member of my Soul and Strategy Mastermind, but she's also a speaker at the Extraordinary Women Ignite Conference this October 24th through 26th. Antonée is an expert health strategist, an entrepreneur, and founder of Lyrical Rise, a women's wellness company. You'll hear all about Lyrical Rise and what that even means. It has a beautiful meaning behind it. She is a lifelong female athlete and health and life coach. Antonée has a profound passion for helping women live healthy, happy, and active lives. With training as a forest therapy guide, she believes in the power of mindfulness, nature, and simply slowing down. She's my kind of woman. Antonée passionately believes that midlife is not a crisis, but rather an opportunity for profound momentum and impact. At the Ignite conference, Antonée will be speaking about navigating the complex health challenges in midlife and taking actionable steps to change our lives so that we can really thrive. She talks about getting our moxie back. She will share insights from her 3 pillars of health and how our mind plays a crucial role in our wellness. As women entrepreneurs, it's essential that we take care of our bodies to be at our best game. Our health directly impacts our ability to lead, innovate, and create the businesses we envision. In today's episode, we'll discuss what sparked Antonée's passion for health and wellness from a very young age, her personal wellness journey that inspired the launch of Lyrical Rise, and why she focuses specifically on women's health in midlife. We'll also explore why much of the mainstream health advice can be dangerous for women in midlife. And you'll leave with some of her best wisdom to level up your own wellness. So let's get ready to be inspired and learn how to take charge of our health and wellness. Remember, Ignite is all about raising up your vision, voice, and visibility while building a business with more time prosperity and wealth prosperity. You will leave with a plan for 2025 to make your next up level happen. Early bird tickets are on sale now at CamiGellner.com/Ignite. Go out and grab your tickets. Now, let's get ready to be inspired and learn how to take charge of your health and wellness. Let's dive in and meet Antonée Thomson. Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Antonée. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and you are going to be a speaker at the Extraordinary Women Ignite Conference come October. I'm really super thrilled about that.
Yes, I am as well.
You know, wellness is such an important element when it comes to women entrepreneurs. And when I was really thinking through what I want to deliver at our 10th annual Extraordinary Women Ignite this year, wellness was definitely top of mind for me. It was because I've been on my own wellness journey. As you know, I've been on a journey of really figuring out what my body needs as I, I don't want to say age. I want to say as I get better, as we get wiser.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And so I have spent a lot of focused time and, worked with a lot of different people over the years on what does my body need right now? And this is why I'm so excited to have you at Ignite to really be bringing your wisdom and your expertise. I've learned a lot from you, and I'm always learning a lot from you. And I think that it's important for us to be able to do our best in our work as entrepreneurs to be able to take care of this vessel of who we are.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think you're a perfect add-on to our mix of speakers that we've got at
Okay.
Ignite this year. And so I'm thrilled that you're going to be there. So I want to hear a bit of your story. I know you got involved in really your passion for wellness got sparked pretty young. So
Yeah.
tell us what happened that really, brought that to life for you.
Yeah, I mean, Cami, I had a kind of terrifying health scare when I was young. I was
Yeah.
10 years old and I had a major medical event. I had a grand mal seizure, lost consciousness, lost, feeling in lots of my body afterwards. And it followed with another seizure within 2 years. And during that time, I was in and out of the hospital. There was a lot of poking and prodding. And, in in those moments, that was it's a formative period of time in in
Oh,
your life,
totally.
right? You're
Yeah.
about to hit coming of age, adolescence, and you're starting to really see yourself in the world and with other people. And I think at that moment, I think even as we move in through our 20s and 30s, we take our health for granted because it's just always usually there and you're
Yeah.
fine, right?
Totally.
And I knew the value and importance of my health so early on. And I knew that if that's not in a good place, nothing else matters. And
Mm.
so
What
it's
a
kind of,
hard lesson at 10 years
ugh,
old.
it
Holy
was,
smokes.
yes, it was so hard. And the other thing I learned is that when you're going through any kind of illness, whether it be dramatic illness like late stage cancer when you're older, or, even if you have injuries that keep you from moving around or whatever, anything with your health, you only know what that feels like when you start to go through it and you're actually going through it very alone. It's a solo thing, right? Because no
Mm.
one else can truly feel what you feel. And
Yeah.
so it was all those experiences that kind of pulled me into I was drawn to the fields of medicine and health early on. I have a super love for exercise, health and everything health and wellness in my life. It drives also my empathy, my passion for helping other people go through things that are difficult, but, having the support that they need. I just have I think a level of empathy for these things that you can
Hmm.
only know if you had a traumatic experience like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you, so what happened for you as you started to, what was your healing journey, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, part of the healing journey for me was to understand it, right? Was to
Hmm.
understand, okay, what happened to me what happened to my physiology, literally, what was happening to my brain. And so I got really engulfed and moved into the field of health and biology and pre-medicine. I got a degree in pre-med. I was setting
Wow.
off, my sole purpose was to go to medical school and help people who also experience like traumatic events like that,
Yeah.
right? Or neurological events. But as I moved through my journey, I got really interested in behavioral neuroscience. And
Yeah. Which
so,
is, I think, fascinating addition in your work, right? Is that
yeah,
expertise in that space.
yes. And that really impacted kind of and shaped my career because I came out of my master's and, I was going to stay for my PhD, but changed my mind because I wanted to explore other areas. And what I found was it really is applicable. The psychology, the
Yeah.
biology, the neuroscience of change is really applicable to everything I've done in my career and has
Yeah.
set me up for this moment. And so, throughout my career, I have worked mostly in health and wellness and, whether that be in, brand strategy realm or product innovation or looking at, portfolios and how to talk to consumers across global markets, all of those things, you can also think about the psychology behind how we behave and
Yeah.
what we're doing in the midst of
Yeah.
particularly our health, because it's not just about our physical health, right? It's about our mental and emotional health.
Right. And I think that's what one of my big experiences on my own health journey has been how much of a mental game that is, right? I mean,
Yes.
how much we have these old habits, these ingrained patterns that we
Oh
we
my
fall
gosh.
back into. And
Yeah.
that was a big one for me, was just, and I'm just so fascinated about everything that has to do with neuroscience
Yeah.
anyway. And even just like the whole, what happens with our neural system, or what, our nervous system,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's, to me, when I think about my clients, when I think about my own journey, when I think about, you know, what my nervous system has gone through, leaving the corporate
Yes.
world to being an entrepreneur, our nervous systems are always on go, right? I mean, they're just,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And there's multiple components of that, right? Like I always talk about there's three levels of change. There's behaviors, beliefs, and identity. And
uh-huh.
really at the end of the day, when you want to come up to lasting, sustainable change, you have to impact identity, but you cannot start there because we protect our identities at all costs. Like it's who we
Mm,
are. It's what the way we see ourselves in the world, right? But if you start with kind of behaviors which impact your beliefs, right? Then your beliefs over time start to change and it starts to change your identity. And so there's like,
mm,
that's part of the things that I work with my clients is that, we need to create, like you're saying, Cami, like new neural pathways, right? We need to learn new strategies, new behaviors so that we can start to shift our beliefs about ourselves,
yeah,
right?
that's
Over
really
time.
interesting. Because I
Yeah.
totally get it. If we start with our identity, we're going to wrap around all these things that we talk about on ourselves. I don't do this well, and all of these
Right.
different things, right? So
Right.
it really makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And the other
Huh.
piece you mentioned there that is so true, and I'll go back to my journey for a moment because I think it really applies here, is that, your mental and your emotional health is just as important as your physical health. And for
Yeah.
so many years, there was a lot of attention starting many decades ago on physical health, right? And it's all
Yeah.
about diet and exercise and la la la.
Yeah.
Recently, thankfully, right? We're getting
Yeah.
into that space where we understand the importance of mental health. And that was a huge part of my journey and what
Yeah.
helped me shift, not only in my personal life and my own wellness, but also in my career to launching this company.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. So tell us how how did you launch your company, Lyrical Rise? And tell us what
Yeah.
Lyrical Rise, why is that the name of your company? So tell us,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit of that journey.
Well, first, I'll tell you the journey and then I'll tell you why it's named
Okay.
that. So, I feel like I grew up, the seasons of my health has changed over time, but I always grew up with a love for fitness and movement and, eating well. And I was a competitive athlete, right? And then I hit my 30s and I was a gym rat and I was into high intensity workouts and I was always eating because I love like healthy food. Lucky me, right? My husband always says, lucky you, you love to be healthy, right? But things have changed over time. And I started to during the pandemic, right before the pandemic hit, I was brand strategy consultant who was traveling around the country a lot. And I had young kids. And I had a high stress environment going on. And the pandemic hit. And at that point, I started to notice all of these perimenopause symptoms that were hitting. I had everything from what are called vestibular migraines, Cami. They're awful. They're just
Oh
like pure
man.
dizziness, and then they go into a migraine state of pain.
Mm,
I had fatigue. I had insomnia. I had anxiety. I was waking up at 3 a.m. every morning. I had hair loss, all sorts of things going on. I didn't know what to do about it. I'm like, what is
right.
going on? I'm super well fit and everything's fine. No, it's not, because I started to realize that it was about my mental health. And my
Mm,
mental health, even though I look at even images of myself from then, I was very physically fit, or so I thought. I appeared super healthy. I
mm-hmm,
was cardiovascular wise in great shape, but my
mm-hmm.
mental health was suffering so dramatically, which was ultimately causing many of my physical health challenges. And, in perimenopause, we know that your baseline cortisol levels are higher, right? And so that stress hormone is impacting everything. And I was just
Yeah.
getting all of this like terrible hormonal fluctuations and symptoms. So I started during that time to lean into like understanding what's going on with my body, like
Right.
understanding the physiology of perimenopause, which I could talk about in a bit if you want, the impact of stress. And it's fascinating, Cami. It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And, I
It
started
is
to
because we've
understand,
all experienced. I mean, so many of us have
yes,
experienced that, right? We're
yes,
like, oh my God,
yes.
we're normal.
Yes, exactly. And I like to say, I just literally said this somewhere on social media a little while ago. It's like, it is truly our second puberty, but there is no education on it. There
Yeah.
is like women don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so we suffer alone. So, like that, I was trying to figure out what's going on with me. And we also have, like, in society today, all these like stigmas that still exist around
Yeah.
menopause, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, God forbid someone has a hot flash at work, or, our society has historically kind of silenced the conversation around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're finally starting to see women in power become more visible, like Oprah, Drew Barrymore, Halle Berry, coming forward and saying, hey, I'm going through this and helping women, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
part of the problem is our culture has such a strong reverence for youth, right?
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
anti-aging and beauty products that are
And it's
like,
like, oh my
hey,
gosh, I have to appear
yes,
young, right?
yes, I
And
have
if I
to
talk
appear
about
young.
this, then I'm not being, yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know,
I mean,
I
go
had
ahead.
a really interesting experience when I was going through perimenopause, and I was still in the corporate world,
Yeah,
and I wasn't even knowing that I was having perimenopause at that point, right?
yeah,
And so I was in my 40s, and I was it was a pretty stressful job that I was in. I loved my work, but it was stressful. Definitely had some
yeah.
stress components to it. And I had one day I was in total tears in our chief investment officer's office, and the next day, bless her heart, she was a little older than me. She brought me the perimenopause book that Dr. Christine Northrup
There you go.
wrote, right? And I was just like, oh my God. And that's when I started just like reading, I am normal. I'm
Yeah,
so normal.
yeah.
And what that book didn't do though was really bring together how does stress tie into the mix of so much of what happens in our bodies.
Yeah.
And I think what I've learned over the years is how much our stress, and like you said, the cortisol, our nervous system, our gut, all of that is so all interrelated. And that's what's been, I think, over the last few years, my biggest aha has been
Yeah.
how interrelated everything is.
Absolutely. I mean, all of our systems get impacted during perimenopause,
Yeah.
It is literally almost every system, from our nervous system to our respiratory system, musculoskeletal, immune, respiratory system, reproductive, obviously.
Yeah.
And it causes all these dramatic changes in our metabolism, our body comp, our body fat increases, our bone density decreases. We have cortisol levels, like I said, baseline, that rise. And they all lead, there's so many more things. I won't go into the physiology, but there's all of these changes lead to all of these typical symptoms you hear about. So
Yeah.
weight gain, particularly
Yeah.
in our midsection,
Yeah.
even if we've never had stomach fat in our life, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was
Bloating.
like I remember
You're like,
starting to
what?
get that going. Always had the flattest stomach ever, and
Exactly.
then I'm
It's
like, what the heck?
and then we get, of course, self-esteem, self-confidence issues,
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
can't talk about it, right?
yeah,
There's things that feel very personal, like vaginal dryness. Like,
yeah,
these things should be talked
yeah,
about, and
yeah,
women need support, right?
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
an important context to understand what's going on with our physiology, because then we can make changes, right,
yeah,
to
yeah,
adapt to it. And
yeah,
so back to my journey with that, I just want to finish that thought, is that, I ended up like starting to learn about it and just make changes to my own routines. And the biggest shift I made, similar to what you're talking about, was I had to change up my workout routine. I had to change up not as much what I was eating. I've always ate pretty healthy, but I had to change up. Well, let me just say, I wasn't doing much for my mental health and my stress
yeah,
reduction. And
yeah,
that made a big difference. As well as, there's mindset work, there's breath work, there's meditations, like all of those things matter. Getting out in nature, just
yeah,
slowing down was
yeah,
huge for me, Cami, because then your mental and emotional health starts to shift, and then your physical health starts to shift. And
yeah,
that's when you really feel that impact of that stress hormone, right?
yeah,
Of
yeah,
cortisol.
yeah.
So
So that's what your own journey is really what led to Lyrical Rise.
Yeah, a couple things. My own journey was one of them for sure. My education, my background just kind of led me to this, and
Totally.
just my
Right. It's like
passion.
everything you've done in your life led up to this point.
Yeah, and just my passion for helping other people and women
Yeah.
particularly, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I never answered your question about why lyrical rise.
Yes.
That's like,
Tell us.
yeah. So, and I do get this question from time to time. In general, lyrical, the definition of the word is having, let me see if I can get this quite right, an artistically beautiful or expressive quality, like expressing deep
Mm.
emotions in an imaginative or beautiful way. And
Hmm. So you
I
think of a
was,
song as lyrical, right?
yes, a song is lyrical, or it
Right.
could be
Hmm.
other like beautiful objects or
Yeah.
moments. And I believe that our lives are defined by lyrical moments. So there are
Ooh.
moments when we fail to get up, when moments of, but we get up anyway and we grow. There are moments of pure, unadulterated joy. There are moments when we lose hope and regain it again and capture a glimpse of it again. And I think that there are moments when we are challenged to rise up, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
often those are pivotal moments that are not solitary. And so in my life, when I've had a lot of lyrical moments, in my most difficult health moments specifically,
Hmm.
there are incredible women who have encouraged me to get up when I wanted to give up. And I feel like
Mm.
that's kind of the profound power of women helping women, empowering women. And that's why I started it and called it Lyrical Rise, because I feel like we can rise up together in these lyrical moments and
Oh my
really like,
gosh.
yeah, live this
I
amazing life.
love that so
Thank
much. I
you.
really love that. I'm so glad I asked that question because I didn't know that. So that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. So why did you choose to, really focus in on this midlife phase and tell us before you go there, tell us your one message for the world because your one message for the world is really important to this, right?
Yeah, yeah. I truly believe in, so just generally in the media and what's been pushed into our psyche for decades has been midlife is your time for a crisis. Whether you're
Yeah.
a
The midlife
55-year-old,
crisis.
yeah, whether you're a 55-year-old male, go out and get your Corvette in the 80s and get yourself a new wife who's 20, or a woman who, I mean, our stereotype is more like, why don't you leave the workforce and go knit? It's terrible, right? So I believe my message to the world is that midlife is not a crisis, right?
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
opportunity for profound momentum and impact.
Oh, I so love that. When
Yeah.
you landed on that, and we always talk about one message for the world in the
Yeah.
mastermind program. And when you landed on, I was like, that is it. Because we do think, I mean, we have heard that midlife crisis for so long.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not a crisis. This is our time to really raise up and do our good work.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
reason I say that too is because during this time, we're at the height of our career journeys, our parenting journeys, our caregiving journeys, our civil engagements. Like we're
Yeah.
at the height of all of it. And we're leaving our legacy, right? And for the next generations to come, we're
Yeah.
teaching our children, right? What
Mm,
it looks like to be healthy, not
so
just
true.
physically, but mentally and emotionally. We are
Yeah.
modeling kindness. We're modeling relationships. We're modeling what it looks like to engage with others and be,
Yeah.
show up in a way that you feel empowered and confident, right?
Yeah.
We're demonstrating to young professionals in the workforce what it means to be a conscious, engaged, empathetic, inspirational leader, right? And much
Yeah.
more. So in
Yeah.
terms of our health, on our side, we're doing that for others, right? But on our side, we're also setting ourselves up for a healthier, happier, more active future. We're setting ourselves
Yeah.
up for what do we want to be able to do when we're 65, 75 years old, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to
Yeah.
be able to pick up our grandkids? Do we
Yeah.
want to walk up a flight of stairs without being out of breath? Do we want
Yeah.
to
I want to be
go,
doing more than that.
oh, go sailing. Go sailing
Exactly.
around the world, Cami.
Exactly.
The European vacations and walk
Yeah.
for miles on end. Do you want to skydive? Maybe you
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah.
But we can't do
No, I
that
don't want to do
unless,
that, but all the
not,
other things,
not
yes.
sure I do. It's like all of those things, we have to set it up today. And that's why I'm focused in midlife. There has been so many large, well, not so many, which I can get to that, but large longitudinal studies that have been done on women that show that this is one of the most crucial periods of time for our health. And the reason is you're setting yourself up for the future. So
Yeah.
there's studies, and I go through this on my website and talk to my clients about this. Like, a majority of women are experiencing stress. This is scientific studies that have been done, and that your health status during this time and your stress during midlife can lead directly to, if you have continual compounded stress, directly to increased cardiovascular risk, heart attacks, obesity, diabetes later in life.
Yeah.
And, women who report higher levels of stress during midlife continue to experience it as they age. So then they're at increased risk of strokes and mortality from heart attacks. I mean, Cami, it's crazy. Like, it is so clear that between these ages of like 35 to 40 through 60 or so, you have to try to establish those healthy habits, not just for yourself and your own healthy future, but for the generations to come.
I so love that. And it makes so much sense because, we can really, we can become stagnant and not move. And it's like everything just will decline. I mean, it will just go down if we don't take care of things now. And I think that is definitely something that, I mean, I look at my mom, who is going to be turning 80 this summer, and she is in such good shape. She is in incredible shape.
Awesome.
She lives at 9,000 feet, and I can go hike with her at 9,000 feet, and she can out hike me because she hikes it every single day. And, and so it's like, we can make these kinds of choices. And it's like, she's diligent about doing her weightlifting like 3 times a week. I mean, she's, it's those sorts of things that, by the time we're 80, if we don't do something now, it's going to be much harder, right? Much harder.
Exactly. And that, I use the word momentum very intentionally in that statement about the one message, because, with your health, particularly, you build momentum and it can easily go away. And then it's a lot harder to get it started again. Right.
Totally.
So,
totally. And it's like not a lot harder to get it started at, 50 or 60 than it was at 30. Right. I mean, like, if you were kind of, went back on things when you were in your 30s, it was like, it's just
couch to 5K then is pretty easy.
Yeah, exactly. It's not now.
Relatively.
So, no. So, why is so much of what the mainstream health advice, what is out there in the world, why is that dangerous for women in their midlife right now? And I think you and I were having a conversation just recently about some things that, like the way we should move. I remember that was something, and I was like, I've never heard of that. So just give us some of the way that mainstream is talking about midlife and how we should take care of it, and what's the error in some of the things that you're seeing.
Yeah. So first, I'll just say, like, I'm not going to pretend for a minute that we shouldn't pay attention to traditional health advice that we all know to be true, right? Like, make sure you're eating a healthy, balanced whole food diet. Make sure you're exercising regularly. Make sure you're getting high quality sleep, not smoking, not overindulging in vices, whether that be sugar, alcohol, gambling, social media. I don't know, but just try not to do that. And now there's also good health advice around, your mental health. Like, try to take care of it a little bit. Stress reduction. But we as women in midlife have to be selective about what we pay attention to and the advice that's out there swirling in the mainstream media. And here's why. I'll give you 3 reasons, actually. One is, historically, there has been a lack, and it still exists today. And I'll give you a couple stats that illuminate this, where you're like, oh my gosh. A lack of scientific research on women in the midlife demographic. So this is particularly true for women in midlife as well as minority groups. Okay. So where we're going through menopause and in through menopause, who are, especially those who are healthy otherwise and active, there's like hardly any research. The research has been underfunded all the way from, like, you talk about neuroscience. Like, when I was doing research with rats, preclinical neuroscience research, they don't use female rats often because they're more difficult to deal with. And the findings can have a lot of kind of static, right? Because They're hormonal, but it stretches all the way from preclinical research all the way through medical research. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. And I just came across this the other day. This is a great, awful stat. Cardiovascular disease, we know that that's the number one killer of women in the USA,
Right.
but only a third of participants in clinical trials for new treatments are female for cardiovascular disease. Okay. I think an even worse stat that illuminates this problem is only 12% of Alzheimer's disease research funding goes to projects focused on women, even though women make up 2/3 of all patients.
Wow.
That is just talking about clinical trials, just 2 data points. It exists across the entire spectrum. Like I said, from preclinical all the way up to like active women like us, healthy, doing like research on them, right? And there's a huge gap in funding, like not just on the gender side, but the minority side, right?
Wow.
So what this means to us is that most of that health advice put out there today is not relevant to us because it's not based on women like us, women who have these hormonal challenges. Rather, it's based on research with men, people who are sedentary or sick with other ailments, or less often you get research with women who are postmenopausal and maybe their 60s or 70s with a host of other health issues.
Yeah.
So there's very little research among active women that are moving through perimenopause and menopause. Now, the good news is they're starting to shift. There's starting to become some research there, but that's the first reason why we need to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
The second reason is all around the fact that like we live in this culture that is all about, we have this, like I said earlier, reverence for youth, right? We're all about urgency. We're all about peddling messages of like quick fixes, promises to lose 5 pounds in a week, right?
Yeah. Get rid of your wrinkles.
Yeah, exactly. Get rid of your wrinkles, get bikini ready in 2 weeks. Or how about you definitely starve yourself to look like a model, right? None of this is realistic. I mean, we all know this, right? And, you know, the reality is, though, some of us, and we may have this lived experience. I probably have had this lived experience if I thought about it in our 20s and 30s. That could actually kind of work maybe, but it's not even healthy then, right? It's not healthy to do those things, but it can work. The fact is making changes for your health, actual impactful long-term changes takes time. It takes patience. I hate to break it to people. There are no quick fixes. I don't care who you are. You have to commit to lifestyle changes, right? In multiple areas of your health. And I want to get into that then, Cami, what I call the 3 power wellness pillars, because that is huge. There are all areas of your health. It's not just your physical health. And then the last reason that we have to be weary of the advice, and this is so important, and I work with my clients on this all the time, is that we have to remember that we are very much individuals. So what works for you, Cami, won't probably work for me, my best friend, your coworker, my neighbor, because it depends on everything. It depends on your medical history, the treatments you've had or medicines you take, how active you are, your current state of health, your mindset. And add to that, this is super important, is that your own body needs, right? Like what works for you in your 30s won't work in your 40s, likely won't work in your 50s, 60s, right? So even as you move through this time, your own body is changing. So we just have to be aware that like this broad blanket advice that says everyone should be fasting or everyone should be, you know, going on a keto diet or everyone should be doing 2 miles a day running, whatever it is, there is a massive like danger in listening to that in a blanket approach for every woman. There, you know, there's a trial and error effort that has to happen.
Yeah.
And it takes time, commitment, and patience. It just does.
Yeah. And to find your, what your body needs. And I think that was one of the things that I, you know, kind of really tuned into in my journey was like, you know, it's not going to be just this diet of, you know, that diet or that diet.
Yeah.
It's actually like, what does my body need? What needs to shift? What feels good in my body? And then, you know, how, and so that experimentation and working with that and, you know, working with people that can help you discover that, I think is so essential.
Yes, I love the thing you just said, what feels good. I think we have, as a human race, literally completely lost touch with our bodies. We live in our heads all the time.
And we're getting all this information on us all the time, right?
Yes. And I've said before, and I'll say it here again, because it's so important, is that our biggest, like, we wear all these big Apple watches and all these trackers and biohacks, and the best source of data is your actual body. Listen to your body. It's telling you, it's giving you signals, what's working, what's not working. And, like you say, you need to get the right support. People who are in this space, luckily, there's a lot of people who are this is getting attention. And there's a lot of experts that are starting to come and help women. And it's helpful to get that support as you move through this, because it is a trial and error thing. It is.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so your 3 pillars, what are your 3 pillars?
Yeah. So I call them the wellness power pillars, because I think that they literally do define our power and, our health. So the first one is nourishment. And it's very important here that I don't call it nutrition for a reason. It's not just what you're putting on your plate.
I love
That's
that.
very important, right?
Yeah.
But it's also not just when we're eating, as well as who we're being when we're eating. So if you're eating under conditions of stress and things like that, that's a big problem. And a lot of my clients are. And also hydration fits in there too. So it's how you're nourishing your body.
Yeah.
Second is movement.
And what I love about Nourish, because so often, I actually, when I started on my big health journey, I was not nourishing my body enough, right? I was eating enough stuff that wasn't really serving me, that wasn't really nourishing, and nearly not enough stuff that was good for my body.
Right. And also, like, timing becomes very important. Like, we have to fuel differently in and around workouts as women in midlife. It's very different. And then movement is the second pillar, which is all about physical health, ensuring that we're building strength, mobility, and cardiovascular health in a way that's not overstressing our body. That is so important during this time, because we already have that higher level of stress. And one thing I talk to my clients about a lot is you have to be working towards, the stuff you do today, the movements that you do, the physical exercise that you're doing has an eye towards what do you want to be doing when you're older? Like I said earlier, the types of things you want to do when you're older. If you want to be able to pick up your grandkids and have that strength, if you want to be able to not, like, when you're 80, fall and not break a hip, you better have some grip strength. You better have some muscles, you need to, our muscular system is so important. It's so important, because when our estrogen declines like it does, it's a specific type of estrogen, E2, but when that declines, we lose the stimulus to build lean muscle. And so we have to work out differently and give different external stimulus to really boost that. And that's so important as we age.
Yeah, I totally
forward
agree.
Into our elderly years. And then finally, neurohealth. Neurohealth is the third pillar. And I call it that because I would be totally remiss not to include sleep health. It is so important. If I had to put it in, I'd put it in the top 3, right? Sleep is so important to our health, and making sure we are incorporating healthy sleep practices consistently. That's the biggest word I'll say. I think people think they're good at sleep hygiene, but a lot of people, when you get down to the details, they don't practice it. So there's that. And I'm guilty of it at times too.
I am too.
I get it. But then also in neurohealth, the big piece, of course, is mental health. So stress reduction, mindset work, breath work, all of that stuff, like keeping our mind healthy, our emotions, like in a space where, and living by our values, all those things fit into our mental health, which is part of that health pillar as well.
Yeah, so good. And those are the components of. So what will you be bringing to Ignite? What will you be speaking about?
Yeah. So, okay. I am going to be speaking about how to maximize your midlife moxie.
Ooh,
and
I like it.
What that is I'll speak a bit about, how to really in midlife, as we talked about, there's a lot of challenges that happen with women, and many of these symptoms that we talk about, what ultimately happens is we're losing self-confidence, self-esteem. We don't feel as empowered as we have in the past. There's all these emotional impacts. And I think, in our 20s and 30s, it's kind of easy often to go out and have that moxie, like really this is who I am and I feel great about it. And look at my heels and look at, I feel amazing. Right. And we lose some of that in midlife. So how do we bring that back? Well, we have to take care of ourselves first, right? Our health, and start to build our confidence. And so I'll speak a bit more about my personal journey around my kind of rough, bumpy entrance into perimenopause, including a life-defining, I'll say, moment in my journey that I swear I would never talk about publicly. I'm going to talk about it. That happened in the blink of an eye, right? There's those moments in life when, you know, there's before and there's after that moment, right?
Yeah.
And it really slapped me in the face and woke me up to my own health issues and triggered my journey even to launch this company. So that's, I'll talk about that. I'll dive into the wellness pillars more and, you know, discuss why each is so important to take care of in light of our physiology changes and how you can't just do one, right? And since I'm all about taking micro action steps, because that's what we do, we take steps week after week. And those steps are with my clients. We have a long-term health goal, Cami, but it's always about, okay, what are we going to do this week that's easy, that fits into your current lifestyle, and that's enjoyable? Because if it's not one of those three things, then we can't make it work, right? So I will give the audience a few tips and hacks, some action steps to implement right away in each of the areas. In nourishment, I think I'm going to go into a seemingly very small but powerful trick to maximize your metabolism that most people don't know about. For movement, I'll start to talk about how to make it truly sustainable over time and consistent. And then for neurohealth, I'm switching back and forth. That's TBD. I was thinking about sleep for sure, but I may switch it up. I'm not sure. But my intention is that, like, as women leave that, you know, conference, like hearing my talk, that they are, and as they move through this phase, right, they're moving through this beautiful, it's a liminal phase that's beautiful, right? It can be very transformative if you have the right mindset, that they'll leave inspired, motivated, right, to take some action and just like be full of hope for their perimenopause journey.
I love that. And I love that you call it moxie, like to really step into your moxie and, you know, just to be able to walk out and do, you know, like be your bright light. And it's, you know, I often talk about the fire dancer in you, right? That fire in you. It's like igniting that fire in you. And that's how we do that, is we find that way that we walk into life with that, you know, all of that light of who you are.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. So you've been part of my mastermind this year.
Yes.
It's been awesome having you in the community. How's it supported you and your business this year?
Oh my gosh, there's so many ways. It feels countless, but I think one of the biggest ways is, you know, just the network and support from fellow women entrepreneurs and learning from you, Cami, on your own entrepreneurial journey. It's invaluable to my, you know, having launched this business just last year and being so new to all of this, knowing that the struggles that I'm going through are just what everyone else went through. They're natural, they're normal, understanding some of the ways in which you can really get yourself out there. And I think I love your pillars of, I think you call it prosperity. Is that right?
I do. Yeah. The pillars of
vision,
prosperity.
voice, and visibility. I think those are excellent. I think, you know, based on my background in brand strategy, branding, product innovation, I'm like, I got vision wrapped up, right? La, la, la. But really, like, visibility has been a challenge for me because, you know, I'm just not used to being out there on my own, like me front and center. And so I'm getting more comfortable with that, but just learning from others and your own journey has been incredible, and getting like the feedback on what I'm doing, right? And having people push me is just incredibly invaluable to this journey for my business.
It's really been fun seeing you, you know, it all come together and what you're putting out into the world. And so speaking of what you're putting out into the world, what do you have coming up that's exciting in your space?
Yeah, I mean, I am about to launch a 10-week online program called the Midlife Mastery Series. And this will be an educational program, giving women more of an idea of like what's happening to our physiology in midlife, what can we do about it. It's really, this program is not just very educational in nature, it's about taking action. So every week we'll go through different health topics. We'll obviously cover those pillars in a few sessions each, and we'll be taking action steps week after week. And my hope is, coming out of this series, not only will women have an understanding of what the heck's going on, right? But they'll be empowered. They'll have tools, resources, action workbooks to take steps for their health. And hopefully they also, my goal is to build a community of support for them, right? Because as they move on in their
Yeah.
health journey, women empowering women, there's nothing quite so powerful, to be honest. It's like
Totally.
amazing when women come together. And so that is launching very soon, next month, as well as I'm looking to do a slightly different version in person in Boulder and eventually in Denver of what's called a Midlife Momentum Accelerator. So that will be either 8 or 10 weeks and, covering again, health topics in perimenopause, menopause, and midlife,
Yeah.
and coming up with action steps. So both of those are semi-private group programs, and I'm really
Excellent.
excited about those.
And so the one is all virtual, so people can
Yes.
join you from anywhere. And then you've got some local
Yes.
ones coming up as well,
Yeah.
which is awesome because,
Yeah.
I think community in any shape and form is so good to really stepping into. I think, the first health thing that I did several years back was an Ayurvedic course. And there was a group of us that, we were tight through that whole thing. And it was really useful to have that level of support around us. So, yeah,
it's invaluable. It
Yeah.
really is.
So, Antonée, where can people learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, you can check out lyricalrise.com. That'll give you the most information about kind of my programs, what I offer, more about me and my background. And of course, my social media handles are also on there as well. You can write through social media, reach out and say hi, email me, shoot me a DM. Like, I love having conversations, if nothing else, and giving women any kind of advice that could help them along their health journey. I would love to keep in touch with anyone who's interested. So
excellent. I love that so much. And then the final question that I always ask is, what are 3 pearls of wisdom you want to leave with us today? I mean, you've given us already so much, but what are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave with us with?
Okay, let me think about this a moment. Okay, so first I'd say just to be patient and give yourself grace during this time. So as you navigate through very uncertain territories with your health, right? This is going to happen to each of us. And part of that is very, very important part of that is to stay positive. Your mindset is absolutely crucial during this time. You have to understand it, believe, and really embody that there's nothing to be ashamed of, right? No matter what you're going through, we as women all go through this phase. It's natural. It can be beautiful. It's wonderfully transformative, right? If you lean into it with a positive mindset. I love this quote. It goes, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And I feel like that's very true, right? You have the choice and the power to stay positive and channel your energy during this time. So when your mental and emotional health is strong, your physical health will follow. So that's the first one. Stay positive, your mindset, and be patient.
And don't buy into all of the noise that's out there that is pulling it down, right? It's like really see the possibilities that's there.
Yeah. Second is, I mentioned part of this earlier, but just remember you're an individual. No one else is like you. So from your unique body, beautiful body, to your medical background, to your current health experiences, to your challenge, don't compare yourself to others and don't get distracted and caught up in the mixed messages around your health and mainstream media because of what I said earlier, right? So you have to remember it takes time to move through these changes and use that trial and error approach as we talked about earlier. And it doesn't happen overnight, but you can make major changes. So just keep in mind, don't be too hard on yourself. Keep in mind, you're an individual and that takes time to move through and find what feels best for your body, as you put it earlier, right?
Totally agree.
And then the third, I would say don't take this journey alone. Get the support.
Totally agree with that.
Right?
Oh, it's too hard to do on your own.
It's too hard. And it's
it's too many holes to fall into.
Yes. And you're not alone with these experiences. There's millions of other women going through it and have gone through it, right?
Yeah.
So I think having the community of support is so important, filled with women there's so many women who are happy to help you through this phase. And I truly believe it goes back to Lyrical Rise. I truly believe women are better together. We're stronger together. We rise up together. So I'd say don't go at it alone.
So good. Antonée, this has been so much fun. You guys want to be at Ignite, so you get to meet Antonée face to face. It's October 24th through 26th in Golden, Colorado. And you can get your tickets at CamiGellner.com/ignite. So be sure to join us there. Antonée, thank you so much for everything that you've shared today. It's really been amazing having this conversation with you and hearing all of your good wisdom.
Thank you, Cami. It was so wonderful to see you, and
You
hope you all
too.
have a great day.
Okay.
Take care.